Oilers Stars game 4 in Edmonton Western Conference Finals in the NHL Playoffs. Guys, welcome into PuckTime on WagerTalk TV. I'm Andrew and I have Carmine with me to break down this game. We'll look at some future odds. We'll look at everything involving the Stars and Oilers sides, totals, props. The Panthers, they tie things up last night. They tie up the series at 2. And of course, the Edmonton Oilers, Carm, are trying to do the exact same thing tonight. Very interesting to see if we have the exact same script for both series, as we'll see the road team win the first game and then the next team win the next 2 games. And then, of course, tied up last night with the Panthers. So what are your thoughts here, Carm? Edmonton, they played a great first 20 minutes. And you talked about it yesterday on the show when we were recapping the game. This Dallas Stars team responded with an even bigger period in the second period in game 3, and they scored 3 goals of their own. So when you look at this series, I think that everyone talked about the depth being the bigger factor as far as the Dallas Stars are concerned. I'm seeing anywhere from minus 130 to 135. Total is at 6, of course, as it's expected. There are a couple 5.5s out there. But do you believe we'll see the Oilers tie things up, Carm?
Well, hello, Andrew. Thanks for having me on. Yes, you know what? It's going to be a good one tonight because Dallas is playing extremely well on the road. They have done so thus far in the playoffs, but you can't discount when you look at the numbers. And I'm going to always look at the numbers. You can't discount that the Oilers have held the edge in 2 of 3 games, but they've lost 2 of 3 games in this series. You look at that, the first game that they won was actually, and this is the irony of the numbers, sometimes as I call it. The first game of this series is the one where the Oilers lost the analytics battle, 374 to 354. They won that game 3-2. Then they generated another combined. Both teams could generate another combined 6 goals of XG, 347 to 274 for the Oilers, and they lose that game 3-1. And then once again, the Oilers 384 to 318 in game 3, and they lose that game 5-3. So what does that tell you? It tells you a couple things, Andrew. And for those of you tuning in this morning, it tells you number one, the Oilers are playing well, but they're not playing a 60-minute game, as was evident in game 3. It was like we talked about before. It was a 4-minute span where uh, Dallas scored those 3 goals, but it was a 20-minute period in which they dominated all 20 minutes. I think it was halfway through the second period before the Oilers even registered a shot, if I remember correctly. You're not going to win games if you're not getting shots on goal. Chris Knobloch's going to make sure the team's ready. He's done it very well since taking over. This is a team that has the most wins since January 1st. They're a very good team, and I get it. Dallas is a equally good team. If the Oilers can play a complete 60 minutes, they should even this series up. That's the way I see it. As far as looking at the totals, all the numbers, Andrew, as far as looking at the numbers, everything leans to this game really should be an over. Even with Dallas having shut out teams in the past or kept them to like 1 goal or less on the road, they couldn't do that against the Oilers. Oilers did get 3, and Oilers had chances to get more. The Oilers are they're creating in 7 games at home in the playoffs. They're generating 3.83 expected goals, but exceeding that by scoring 4.14 goals per game in their 7 games at home. They are scoring. They are going to score tonight. They'll get to Ottinger. They're going to get some shots on goal, similar to what Florida had to do yesterday in order to get to Igor Shesterkin, who's been stealing that series for the Rangers. I think the Oilers get it done tonight, Andrew. I think this heads back to Dallas, tied at 2. So it's Oilers for me tonight.
Carm, I'm feeling the same way as you, but part of me just wants to look towards the first period. And the problem is that if you think about that strategy, look at what Florida did yesterday, right? Imagine if you took Florida first period. Imagine you take Florida to score the first goal, to get off to a good start. It's not how it worked in that game. And of course, if we're comparing these two series, then you kind of wonder, well, what if the Oilers do give up the first goal, but they end up having a good 60 minutes? But I think things are a little bit different with these two clubs. I mean, McDavid hit his shots on goal prop, Carm, to the over within the first, I think, 12 minutes of the hockey game in game 3. I mean, he was flying around the ice, playing extremely well. Nugent Hopkins had a good first period. Holloway had a good first period. These guys were playing really well. And I think the power play, of course, helps them. But can they sustain that for 60 minutes? Can they sustain that type of consistent effort for 60 minutes? And I think you talk about their scoring at home. It's great to see they get the matchups they want. It's too early, as I mentioned yesterday. I thought that they pulled the goalie too early. But there's so many things to look at for this game. But when it comes down to it, Carm, I have to just go with the same thing that happened in the last game. And the updated price right now is first period minus 130 on the two-way line here for the Oilers. I think this is a team that needs to play with the lead, needs to get a lead, needs to protect it, needs to have a good start. This Dallas Stars team and Jake Ottinger makes it very difficult for people if they get the lead on you. And similar to what we saw in game 3 between the Panthers and Rangers, Carm, where you and I were kind of saying that, hey, the Rangers might have won that game, but we all thought the Panthers deserved it. Well, besides some defensive mistakes, I would still probably say the Oilers deserved the last game. So I'm going to go right back to the first period, though. I will not trust them for the first full game as of right now and just take them to win that first period. Carm, one thing that I have been looking at, which I find it kind of fun just to look at for just see what the books are thinking, I guess, as far as the odds here and as far as the first period. So the team totals in the first period for these teams is kind of interesting to look at. Dallas is minus 150 to get to 1. Edmonton minus 165. Total to over 1.5 is minus 130. Both teams to score is plus 165. I think it's a pretty good indicator here that minus 165 is the price for the Oilers to score a goal in the first period, but we're seeing just minus 130 for them to win the first period. I think if they get off to a good start, they score the first goal, I do think they'll win the first period in this one.
Andrew, you're better at those than I am. I subscribe to the stay in my lane on what works best for me, whether it's player props for the most part. Those are always up and down, but sides and totals. I stay in my lane with those ones. Every once in a while, the team totals. You're much better on team totals than I am. The one thing on these prices is, and I mentioned it the last couple of games is, and for this last one against Florida is with these 4 teams, and I think it's parity. I think they're evenly matched. They're 4 very good teams. There should never be a favorite that is like minus 170 in any of these games. I don't care if the game is in Dallas. I don't care if it's in Edmonton. I don't care if it's in New York or whether it's in Florida. Florida was like 170-ish yesterday. They got the win. And I'm happy about it because of the prop bets I have on the series to go at least 6 or 7 games for it to go 6 or 7 games. So I'm going to cash that bet, that plus 105 bet that it goes 6 or 7 games. I'm happy about that, but minus 170 is just too big a price to lay. It's a bankroll killer because you look at it, and I'm going to talk about the Rangers one just quickly before we get to this Edmonton one, Andrew. You can agree or disagree with me, and you guys in the chat can as well, but we've yet to see the Rangers play their best game. I don't think so in the series. I thought maybe game 2 was their best game that they played, but we've yet to see them play like they played during the regular season, their best game. And maybe that's just Florida enforcing their will on them because Florida's been the better team in the series. And I'm sorry, Ranger fans, if you think I'm being disrespectful, Florida's been the better team in this series, and yet the series is tied at 2. Home ice for the last 3 games means nothing. Florida could go to New York, win there, and then lose at home and go back to New York for Game 7. Could very well could happen in this series. It's been zigging and zagging, and the Oilers. you got to think about, Andrew, what's the threshold on what you want to pay for the Oilers against a very good Dallas team? You said, I think, is that like minus 130-ish, minus 135? At some point, if that was to get any higher, and I can't see it getting to 140, 145, all the value players and sharps would have to come in and take Dallas. How do you not take Dallas at plus 120 if the price dictates it? So it's not about what you're seeing on the ice, because all three games, I think, have been evenly matched. You talked about Knobloch and pulling his goalie. He pulled his goalie a little early in game two, led to an empty netter, but they also gave the puck away, and Skinner was kind of left on his way to the goal. On his way to the bench, and when that goal was scored. So those things happen. The one thing we've seen in this series, and we talk about good coaches, is look at what Laviolette did with the Rangers, calling a timeout, bringing his team to the bench, not even saving it for the end of the game. He used it when they needed it. Maybe Knobloch should have done that in game three, when clearly the Dallas Stars were all over the Edmonton Oilers. Maybe use your timeout before it's too late and that timeout becomes useless. So two questions for you, Andrew. Thoughts on maybe using those timeouts? And then secondly, what is your limit on what you would be willing to pay to play the Edmonton Oilers tonight?
As far as the timeouts, Carm, I will say this. In the moment, I'm always saying, what are they thinking? What are they thinking? Why would they call a timeout so early? But then after they do it, usually it seems to work. And the thing is, sure, in the NHL, for everybody that doesn't know, you don't get a lot of timeouts. You get the one you got to use there. So people will wait and wait and wait and wait, and they'll use their timeout with 40 seconds left. Well, sometimes, Carm, it's too late to accomplish anything with 2 minutes left in the game. It's too late to reset your team. So I like when coaches call the timeout earlier, get a discussion going. And I love the point that you made on yesterday's show about, although they knew the TV timeout was coming, it's important to just call that and just get the timeout called, settle your team down. So I've actually grown to like the early timeout calls. Why wait till the game's almost over to call it when the game's getting out of hand right in front of your eyes? And that's a good time to call it. As far as the price is concerned, it's an interesting discussion, Carm, because yesterday I've been kind of being a lot more of a market watcher lately, and kind of really scanning through all kinds of different sports books and seeing what prices they're offering across, whether it's MLB, whether it's NHL, NBA, French Open with tennis, to just be curious how different sports books are opening different prices. And the thing is that those opening numbers can really indicate a lot to you as far as kind of what they think about the game. And yesterday is a really good example of that. The Panthers, everybody said, wow, I can't play the Panthers at that price. I cannot play the Panthers at that price. I have to jump in on the Rangers, because why? People like plus money. People do not like chalk. They like plus money. And one thing that I heard Teddy saying, Carm, on WagerTalk today recently, is that the public wins in MLB and in the NHL sometimes in these money line sports. Sometimes it's okay to lay chalk. It's okay to have these prices that you're willing to take a look at because of the specific situation. They wouldn't have opened Florida at such a high price yesterday if they didn't want New York money. They were begging people to jump in on New York, right? If they opened them at minus 140 or 50, then I think they would have got a lot more Panthers money. In this scenario here, I kind of think they're almost inviting people to take a look at Edmonton. It's really, I think this is kind of a reasonable price. So, like I said, I'm taking the minus 130 in the first period, which is, of course, very similar number to what the full game is. I wouldn't go much higher than that, maybe 135. I think any higher than that, I would start looking at some defensive props, whether it would be a save prop on Skinner or whether it be taking unders on shots for some of those guys. But it's a really good question to ask, because one thing, and this is a self-reflect for, and I appreciate you saying that to me about the team totals, Carm, because I did have some success with it during the season. However, sometimes this season, trying to protect my bankroll and not lay chalk, I actually hurt my bankroll by trying to play these team totals, and they didn't get there, but the team won. You know, Carmen. And the worst part is I talked with you about this last summer. I remember the conversation we had together on the phone where I said to you, Carm, I'm not going to be scared to lay some higher prices if I like the spot. And you don't know how many times this year that I had teams like Colorado or New York or Edmonton or some of these teams over on their team total, but they scored exactly 3 goals and they win their game, right? So I think this price is appropriate, but I wouldn't go much higher on Edmonton.
I wouldn't go much higher on them. I want them to win, but the script doesn't say that they are going to win and follow along on what's happening in the Eastern Conference as far as the series being even going back to the number one seeds venue for Game 5, and obviously us seeing a Game 6. Obviously, the more games, the better. Do I want to see Edmonton win tonight? Of course. The Canadian in me wants to see a Canadian team go far, but there's also the better in me that doesn't that has to put that bias aside and look to see who the right side is and where the money should go. To that point, guys, one important thing, and Andrew and I had a conversation with someone who, Andrew, we won't even mention the name, but he's very sharp when it comes to sports betting. And he gave some advice, which is, and this is where you can use our live lines. I mean, you should be using our live lines. If Circa and Pinnacle, two of the sharpest books out there, and whether you agree or disagree, that's up to you. But if they're giving you the best price on a team, you gotta think twice about wanting to take that team. I'm telling you right now, Pinnacle's been around for a very, very long time and is the sharpest one that there is. And Circa has some sharp traders as well too. So, with that said, you can go in there and drop a boatload. Circa's going to take your money. They'll adjust their line accordingly. But NHL, you look at different sports, Andrew, NHL, NBA, NFL, even MLB. I have to think that NHL probably ranks fourth, and then you can start throwing in like basketball into that too, college basketball, college football. It's what NHL is. You know what I mean? It's part of the mainstream sports market, but not not one of the top 4 or 5. Again, you got to look to see, at least keep in mind what books like Circa and Pinnacle are offering, because if they're giving you the best price, um, you
Be
got to think
careful.
twice. I
Be
wasn't looking
careful.
for a rhyme there. I wasn't looking for a rhyme. Yeah. But and that's the thing. So that's one thing I wanted to touch on. I'm seeing Circa right now has the lowest price on the board at minus 130, but everyone is from like
Yeah.
minus 130 up to minus 135, which is our consensus. Over at Penny, they have minus 134 on the Oilers tonight. So what I'm talking about may not apply to tonight's game, but it applies in general. So it's something you need to, um, uh, to pay attention to. They've been around a very, very long time, and they've been around so long that I went to their offices in Curacao back in the early 1990s, I believe it was, or sorry, the mid to late 1990s. Went to the island of Curacao and visited them and another sports book. So
That's sweet.
yeah, it was a cool facility, but you walked in, and this is what the building looked like before. You walked in, and where all the people were in their cubicles working, because there's no phone lines. There was one number for Pinnacle, and it wasn't ever published, but some people knew the number if you needed to get a hold of somebody. Everything is by email with Pinnacle. I went in there, and it just looked like a school gymnasium or a banquet hall with all cubicles in the middle. And that's all office cubicles. And everyone is just busy working away, replying to emails because they have a huge customer base. But that's what it was back then. So thought I'd throw that little tidbit in.
Well, Karma, I think this is a nice discussion here on the show. I think that you're right. And you said today might not be a good day to use it as an example, but I still think it is because if you look at it, look at the entire odds board. I've got about 10 sports books in front of me right now, and Circa and South Point both hanging minus 130s. FanDuel, to the absolute surprise of nobody, and I'm happy we have no affiliation with any sports books here, they're hanging minus 137 on the Oilers. DraftKings minus 135 on the Oilers, right? I mean, some of these websites, Bovada, minus 138. So everybody out there, ask yourself, which books do you respect? Which books do you respect how their odds come out, how their odds move? And you can really learn a lot by just watching the odds screen. And an even more important question, which books do you not respect? Right? Which books do you think that have public money flying in? They're going to purposely give people higher prices on favorites, because I know I've got books that I use specifically for underdog betting, specifically for team total betting, for player prop betting. I mean, if you're not shopping around for some of these player props that we give out on the show, you're really, really missing out. Player props can be so different across every board. And I know people that bet player props like very hardcore, and they'll bet 5 different goal scorers from 5 different sports books in a span of one night. And people might say that's crazy, Carm. But if you're betting, serious money, it all adds up. If you can get one guy at plus 190 and a different book is offering him at plus 210, you can guarantee people will be shopping around, finding the best book possible. Take a look at it. Carm, a few props for me for tonight's game. That'll be it for me as far as info on this show. Kane, under a half a point. The guy has really quieted down, has not done much for the team. He's gone over four of his last 5 games over on his shots on goal, but he has not been recording a point. Ekholm, under 1.5 shots on goal. He's hit that in 4 of his last 5 games. That's plus 115. The Bouchard assist prop just continues to hit. I feel like we have to keep taking it. I took it last game as well. We had a guy in our live shorts on YouTube here commenting 2 weeks ago, or last week, I think it was, asking about the Bouchard prop. Do we continue to play it despite the juice going up? As long as it's at a half, if you can get minus 140, 145, Bouchard assists is a really good prop to take. Tyler Seguin over 2.5 shots on goal is one that I like. And we're going to go with Harley under 1.5 shots for the Dallas Stars. Goal scorers, so hard not to look at Wyatt Johnston, Carm, with how he's been playing. He has been phenomenal. I would say kind of my bargain bin player today would be Joe Pavelski. He's been playing really well for the Dallas Stars. He's a big game player. So I think he should get the job done. And as far as the Oilers, I do think that Holloway has been playing so well. He deserves to find the back of the net as well. And Carm, those power play points, before I throw it over to you, the power play points have gone really well. Yesterday, I gave out Barkov plus 190 power play point on the show. And the great thing about the power play points, you got Reinhart, Verhaeghe, and Barkov all on one sequence recording a power play point. I feel like if you play those, you're almost looking at playing 3 guys or 2 guys, because most power play goals aren't unassisted, right? Most power play goals, someone's passing it to somebody else so they can score. So there's multiple options out there to get the best prices that you can get. But that's it for me, Carm. A few player props, Edmonton in the first period. And yeah, I mean, the Oilers, if you want to take them right now to win the series down 2-1, it would have been a good idea to do it yesterday with the Panthers, as the adjustment has certainly been made on the series with that one being tied 2. Anything else you have for us on this game, Carm?
But, in the chat, the Sandbox asked me about, I think, he asked about Tyler Seguin on, I think I'm just having a look. Tyler Seguin, for a goal tonight. He's only scored, the thing is, he's only scored in 3 of 16 playoff games thus far this season. A couple of them were 2-goal games, so he's got 5 in total, and you're getting plus 280. That's just not a big enough price to entice me. He could score, but he's only scored in 3 of 16, 3 of 16 games thus far. So even if you're getting plus 280 or 3-1 on your money, and you've been betting them in all 16 games, this is a losing proposition. If you're looking for something more situational, then you could take them. The goal scoring props are very tough ones. I tend to take the guys that might be like plus 110, plus 115, that should be minus 130, kind of like the McDavids or the Dreisaitl's or the Austin Matthews ones, when some books will hang a softer number on it. But it's one that I won't be taking tonight, Sandbox. But if you do, I wish you luck on it. Guys, I tossed somebody out of our chat. He creates new accounts. He keeps coming back in. Burger King, the guy who works the window, squeegees cars, taking shots at Andrew and I. I live in his head. I live in his head. How bad is it if you're such? He said something along the lines of he bets more in a day than I bet in a year, and yet here you are trolling other people. Um, Sharps don't go trolling other people. Trolls go trolling other people. So with that said, every time he comes on, creates a new username, we won't even give him the time of day. He'll be gone first message, even if it's just a hello. Find another place to troll. You're not part of the PuckTime community, and you won't be a part of the PuckTime community. You guys in the chat know what we're talking about here. Andrew, listen, let's get away from the negativity to the positivity. Tell me, Andrew, come on, man, deep down, because you're Canadian, who are you cheering for tonight? Not where your money is. Who are you cheering for tonight?
You know what I'm cheering for. Look, the problem is, though, I've got these Dallas futures. I've got
So
Dallas.
I've Stars. Okay, so you're on the Dallas
Ottinger,
Stars.
but I'm a Canadian. So it's like kind of like my heart versus my brain, my heart versus my wallet. That's the problem. I don't have much action going right now on the Oilers. I've got Ottinger Conn Smythe Trophy. I've got Ottinger Dallas to win the Cup. But I want to see the Canadian team in the Stanley Cup Finals. Man, I just think they should have made that trade for Jake Allen at the trade deadline, Carm. They should have done it. They should have done it and should have followed along. I'm not saying Stuart Skinner's the reason they lost last game, but that was still a pretty weak goal that he let in. No, the defense wasn't good either. That's for sure. I defend goalies, Carm, but that's a rough goal to let in.
Yeah, no. When the Oilers, especially when they went on that streak, 16 games, and at one point Skinner won 12 games, it's because they were playing solid in front of them. That's the thing is, Skinner needs his defense and his forwards to come back and check and play well in front of him, because he's not in the category of an Ottinger. Who can make those saves when his team makes errors. He's not in the category of Igor Shesterkin, who the team in front of him could play like garbage, and yet he keeps them in the game. That's what Igor does. He's such a good goalie that if the Rangers in this series, and like I said, the Rangers haven't played. I'm going off on a tangent again, but the Rangers haven't played their best game yet. I would say if I had to throw a number out, they're probably at their best game is 75% of what their best game was during the regular season. If the Rangers play even 85 to 90% of to what they did during the regular season, they'll beat Florida in Game 5, and it's going to be coming back to Florida for an elimination game with the Panthers with their backs up against the wall. That's the thing with this team. So we'll see what happens in that one. But tonight we've got this one. Let's see what the Oilers can do in front of Skinner, Andrew. They've got to play 60 minutes plus of their best hockey, the Oilers, because this Stars team just doesn't give up. They come at you in waves, and this is why I'm loving the 2 playoff series thus far.
Karma, I can't wait. And I just got a notification from my phone that said that if Chris Kreider would have hit somebody yesterday with the mouth guard of Tkachuk that he took out of his mouth, he would have been suspended for 1 game. So thankfully he didn't hit anybody. That would have been the craziest way to be suspended we could have ever imagined. But guys, comment below. Let us know what you are betting tonight. We appreciate everybody for being here. Hit the like button on the video. I know the NHL is only have so many games left, but it's It's been a really, really fun time here on Puck Time with you guys all season long. So hit the like button, show some love, and whether you're with us, you're against us, you're commenting your plays, we're rooting for you guys. We really are. And we just want you guys to enjoy the games and make some money in the process. A lot of my NHL plays, I'm just letting you guys know every day here what I like. So my power play points, my player prop shots, sides, totals, first period. So forget about buying my NHL at WagerTalk right now, but CFL season, I just recently got a promo code. So this is just CFL season. The promo code is AMCFL. AMCFL will take $50 off my current early bird special CFL season. Once the regular season starts next week, that price gets jacked up back to the regular price. So you guys can use the promo code AMCFL. 3 straight profitable seasons, 10-2, 5% run to close out last year. It's going to be a great year in the CFL. We got the win totals coming out in a couple days here with the Canadian football season. So you guys are going to see all kinds of people that are sudden CFL betting experts that are just doing it for the first time this summer when baseball and all these sports are the only ones left. But CFL has been a mainstay for me for many years. You guys can use the promo code AMCFL to make probably about a $50 to $100 savings, really, when you think about it, with all the early bird special included. So I can't wait for that. And Carm, I cannot wait to tail you on some Euro soccer coming up this summer.
Andrew, all kidding aside, I had to ask you about who you're cheering for tonight because I know that you can put your bias aside unless it's the Montreal Canadiens. Sometimes with you, I know I got to take that little shot at you. But it's you got to put your bias aside when you're betting any type of sports. And this story because last weekend I'm a season ticket holder for Toronto FC, the MLS team up here in Toronto. So I go to the game, the first game of the season that my wife has come to. And she comes to almost all the games. We're wearing our Federico Bernardeschi jerseys, the Italian, the best player on the team, but he was suspended that game. But Dan, our producer, knows I bet Cincinnati plus 141. So I'm at the game and I'm cheering along with everybody else when Toronto's scoring goals. But in the back of my head, I'm like, come on, Cincy, because my money was on the right team and Cincinnati won. I cashed the plus 141 ticket. You got to put your bias aside. I will bet against the Bills. I'll bet against Juventus. I'll bet against Italy. I'll bet against the Sabres. It's easy to bet against the Sabres, though. It's the money.
It's
that
easy to bet
matters.
against your teams, Carm, because they suck. So it's easy to bet against your team.
Producer Dan jumping in the live chat. I absolutely love it. But with that said, guys, and then I'm going to throw it back to Andrew to take us home. Every year for the last 5 years, so this is the 5th year, I should say. The Champions League final goes on the weekend. Borussia Dortmund and Real Madrid. Every year, I do a customer appreciation. You get to play on the game and a whole bunch of prop bets as well too for $1. That's all it is. It's a customer appreciation. It's $1, and we've hit some really good prop bets in the past with these ones here. So you get that over at WagerTalk. The tournament special is still up. There's $129. You're going to get the Euros that kick off on June 14th, the Copa America, and then the Leagues Cup, which goes till about August the 25th. So you're going to get a ton of soccer with those packages. And then for tonight, one NHL best bet. No prop plays for me on tonight's card. One play only. But a big MLS card for me, midweek MLS, 5 plays. One of them is a top play for me, a best bet selection. You get those over at WagerTalk. So maybe grab if you want, grab the 1 day all access. But it's going to be a busy summer with only baseball going on and some CFL. Those 3 soccer tournaments. It's going to be a lot of action for me because I'm involved in all 3 sports as well too. So WagerTalk's got some great deals to get all of the summer. You can grab those over at WagerTalk, guys. And I appreciate you guys in the chat. I'll have a contest up tomorrow and announce the winner of the previous contest. Let's give away another Puck Time Be a Goldfish t-shirt before I head off to Vegas. I'll be in Vegas the 19th to the 24th. watching a couple of the Italy games against Croatia and Spain. Staying at Circa. If you're around in Vegas, drop me a line and I'll buy the beers. Andrew, back to you.
Gotta love it, Carm. Enjoy. Best of luck. And I'll definitely be tailing you tonight on the MLS, guys. Make sure you go to Carm's page, grab his plays for tonight in the MLS. Some great, great spots to get behind. And make sure you guys are watching the MLB First Pitch Show, hosted by the one and only Dan Alexander. The producer is also a great host as well, and they're cashing tickets every day. So, guys, enjoy the games tonight. Best of luck, and we'll see you tomorrow for Game 5, Rangers-Panthers.